The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus told his disciples a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? No disciple is superior to the teacher, but when fully trained, every disciple will be like his teacher. Why do you notice a splinter in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the wooden beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, let me remove that splinter in your eye, when you don't even notice the wooden beam in your own eye? You hypocrite! Remove the wooden beam from your eye first, then you will see clearly and remove the splinter in your brother's eye. A good tree does not bear rotten fruit, and nor does a rotten tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For people did not pick figs from thorn bushes, do not pick figs from thorn bushes, nor do they gather grapes from brambles. A good person out of the store of goodness in his heart produces good, but an evil person out of the store of evil produces evil. For from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. The Gospel of the Lord. My voice is worse than that of a crocodile. These flus are colds. It's a bummer when you're the fourth boy of four in a house, which is my case, because your older brothers ask you a question, but they don't believe what you say. Doesn't matter if you're a priest. And one of my siblings, he has a Bible group. And he asked me recently, hey, like heaven is one big place, right? Like everybody lands in the same place. And I said, that's not the way it goes. I said, if you die the same day that, a saint like Mother Teresa of Calcutta dies, I bet you're not going to the same living room. And he said, but God can't be unjust. He's not like that. It doesn't sound like God. And he used the wrong parable to try to preach to his brother priest. He chose that parable where Jesus says that some people are going to, they commit to going to the vineyard and they get whatever, 1 denarius in the morning, and then some go at 12 and some go at 3, and then yet some go at 5, and they all get the same. And I said, but that's not what how the tradition reads it, dummy. But he said, respect your older brother. And I said, no, we have the parable of the talents. And that says, if you got 10, you must give back 10. If you get 5, give back 5. You can't, even a little kid, 2 boys, let's say 5-year-olds, are doing the same thing, and one gets 2 candies and the other one gets 4. Guess what? The little boy who represents the goodness of creation is going to say, hey, wait, why did he get 4 and I got 2? So heaven is not one single place. There is a growth of the heart that we need to do here to get to that place. Remember when Jesus said before going to heaven, there are many places in there are many rooms in my Father's house. Plus, again, the tradition, right? The more love you have, the more it will be given to you. We do, as Catholics, believe in merit. So I believe that in today's readings, we could just look at the fact that there's 2 major mentalities of how to be a Catholic. One is kind of like a country club. Either I'm in or I'm out. I pay my dues. I'm part of this country club or that one, and I'm in. And if I'm in, I get to use everything. But that's not the best figure. The best figure is that our life is a journey of growth in love. A journey of growth in love. And if you've read some spiritual books of the masters of the spiritual life, we here all know that, for example, our 2 great Spanish mystics, Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross, they speak about 3 big stages. The purgative stage, listen to the word purgative, to purge people who are living, let's say, a life of sin, especially mortal sin. Then they talk about number 2, which is the illuminative stage, where we start to see that the things of heaven give us more joy than the things we can touch and we can buy, the things that we won't take to heaven. And finally, there's that third stage, the unitive stage. All of the letters of St. Paul talk about this, we becoming little by little through good decisions and being kind, God's. Not really, but becoming like Jesus. When Paul says, it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me, that's what he's saying. We are resembling Jesus as best as we can. And that brings goodness to families, to society, and to the world at large. There's another way to look at it, which is the road. I read about the road of Peter in his growth, but it's not 3 stages, it's 4. We see Peter in the beginning of his life, kind of curious about the Lord and coming to the Sea of Galilee, and the Lord saying, hey, let me step into your boat. And he steps into his boat and he starts to be a follower. But in Gethsemane, what does he do? Well, before Gethsemane, he denies the Lord. No, I don't know him. Oh, because they're going to cancel me, or my friends don't. It's not cool to be close to Christ. And he denies him. But 1 chapter later, Jesus asks him 3 times, remember, Peter, do you love me? And with a compunction of heart, knowing that we all fail, he says, Lord, you know I love you. But I messed up. And that gives us consolation that, hey, maybe sin, although never willed by God, can be a road, a bridge to being closer to Christ. And then the 4th stage is Peter, who is crucified upside down, martyrdom to be witnesses. So my friends, I just ask a question. Sometimes we are still putting on, in the spiritual life, in the physical life, we can't use the jeans that we bought when we were 10 years old. We buy new jeans to fit the new time. We grow, we're supposed to grow. Love grows. A couple who is not more in love now than they were yesterday or 10 years ago, there's something wrong there. Love is supposed to perfect itself. And relationships are supposed to grow. So my question would be, am I still wearing the jeans of many years ago? And allow me to give 2 examples of things that I find constantly in talking to people that you say, like, shouldn't this be clear already? 1 example. When we talk about in marriage, an annulment of marriage, what is an annulment in marriage? It's when people might have been happily married, having kids, but somewhere down the line, they figure out that the day of the marriage, not now, but in the past, there was some impediment to be married. And so they asked the church through the ecclesiastical tribunal, hey, and I'm not encouraging this, I'm just giving an example. Don't throw tomatoes at me yet. Just giving an example. Oh, but so do you think that, was there a marriage to begin with? And we're humble and we hear what the church has to say. It might say, yes, that was a null marriage or not. But people react as if, no, but there was love. One thing doesn't have to do with the other. Why do we priests not teach you about what annulment means? It could be 25 years into the marriage, but again, and the point of the homily is not this. This is an example of ignorance after many years of walking with the Lord, thinking that if there's children and there was love, there couldn't possibly annul marriage. Well, that's wrong. Or some people who come to confession after a year and, Father, I stole $1 and I, yelled at my husband. In a whole year, you want me to believe that that's all you did? Jesus says that the just man or woman fails 7 times a day. And just in the Bible means holy. So we must fail about 20 times a day or maybe 40. How is that the only matter of your confession? And I'm speaking to myself because I can also fall into mediocrity. I'm not scolding anybody. I'm scolding myself. So again, friends, as we go on with our Mass, are we wearing the same jeans? Are we growing in our journey? Because the readings today talk about the refining fire that makes us better. We have to be able to answer to Christ as we receive him today, as we go to the second part of the Mass. Yes, Lord, I love you more than yesterday, but less than tomorrow. Let's ask Mary to give us that grace to love more and to see our life not as one big room in heaven, but as different rooms that we merit through being open to receiving God's grace and responding to it. Amen.